Hello YouTube, Shing Eaton here. It's Memorial Day 2018, but I've got work to do, so I thought I'd bring you along. We're going to graft this pawpaw tree today. I'll bring the camera up and we'll get started. We'll go through a couple tools of the trade here. Starting up at the top right, I've got my pruning saw, pruning shears, grafting knife, sunglasses. That's some stretchable wax-based paraffin grafting film. Then sandwich bags. You've got aluminum foil, a pen to mark your project with, some Elmer's glue, electrical tape, and a staple gun. Alright, I'm going to move up close and we're going to look at this trunk. Now this tree here, we're going to take it all the way back down below that first branch. I don't know if you can see that there. We're going to take the whole thing down and we're going to do a bark graft on it, because you get a lot of boom for your buck on a bark graft. We're going to take all that growth and reduce it down to 2 buds that we're going to try to push real hard. I'll get this camera set up and we'll get started. So we look for a nice flat, clean spot here on the trunk. One thing I'll mention about pawpaw trees before I start cutting it, since we're talking about them, is this branch here, even though it's going up like that, pawpaw is a very weak wood, but it's very bendable. So when that gets a crop, that will bend like a hinge until that thing is at a 45-degree angle going down without breaking, unlike an apple tree. So we're going to take some of this weight off this thing so we can get to work. Those out of the way. Okay, we could go all the way up here. It would just be smaller working. So I'm going to choose to just take all the top out of it. Take all this weight off of here so when I make my final cut, it's clean. Okay, now I'll come all the way back down here. This is just going to interfere with me, so I'm going to go back down to where it's nice and clean. Being very careful at the end not to tear the bark. Okay. See if I can readjust to get us up closer. Now, we're going to be putting a variety called TLC on this seedling pawpaw. This is what we want to come up with. The scion shaped with a ledge there that will rest on the wood of the tree, and then this shaved on the back side that the bark will be covering with that cambium layer right there, that single cell line on both sides knitting together and pushing those buds out. Of course, I did this a couple minutes ago for demonstration purposes. That wood is, for all practical purposes, dead already. It oxidizes very fast after cutting, which is why when I start working, I won't be talking much. So the first thing you want to do with your stock is prepare it to take the scion. Like I said, we're going to use TLC. This is wood that's been stored in the refrigerator all winter. Well, we gathered it around February, late February, with dormant buds on it. So I'm going to attempt to add this here, and I'm going to look for a spot on the bark that's flat. As luck would have it, it looks like it's on the back side. So I'll have to rearrange myself. But we're going to put it about like that. We'll probably use these two buds here, clip that off, insert these into there, and hope for a union. Alright, let me hop over to the other side here. Now I'm working into the sun, which is not what we do. But the tree dictates what I do. Okay, I'm going to make a cut as deep as that wood that I'm going to insert. So it's about 1 blade width. There's my flat spot. I'm going to have the flap open. Push that all the way into the wood and pull it back just slightly so you know you've got a break. Okay. I'm going to stick her in that deep. And I'm going to not use these two buds. Okay, so I'm going to make those same cuts that I made on my demonstration piece. I'm going to insert it and I'm going to staple it, and then I'm going to quickly tie it with this film. So during this time I won't be doing as much talking. The inside nearest this side is going to be thinner than this side to compensate for the bark coming around, if that makes any sense. This is going to be the inside, so I'm going to make my shelf over here. Okay, about halfway down to that bud. Proper grafting technique is working towards yourself, even though it looks inherently dangerous. That's how you do it. And you probably don't want to talk with a razor sharp knife in your hand up close to your fingers like that. Not wise. Cutting the length of that down, trying to get it down to center. Oh, sure, wouldn't you know it? Blew it on the film. Well, that's life on film, baby. I would do 100 of those and never ruin it until I get in front of a camera. Alright, let's use this piece instead. Take the top growth off. You usually don't want that. I'm going to go in about that deep again. Alright, here we go. I want to take those buds off. I don't want those buds sideways in there. Crooked piece of wood makes it tougher to work. Rough, but it'll work. There's my finished piece. Pry that bark back. Shove that down there in that crack. All the way down. Oh. All the way till it's seated. In there, stapled shut. That provides a good solid support. pushing it that time. Pretty brutal, really. Lots of trauma to the patient. The trick is bringing them back to health. Get that cut covered. Get them out of the sun. This is putting a little additional pressure, but it's mostly for sealant. Drying is an enemy. Sunlight, wind, anything causing moisture loss. Get that stub covered up. This stuff is wonderful and it stretches and covers exceptionally well. Now I've got the hard part done. The rest is aftercare. Okay, now we're going to stick a little foil on there, and that's going to reflect the sun. Reflect the sun, reduce heat. Like that, leave a little extra on top. I can pinch that in there fairly close. Good cover on it. Okay. Now we've got 2 layers of protection on my cut. Now, we'll get us a little baggie here. Cut the corner out of it. That over the scion. And I'll get my little piece of grafting tape here. I'll tie myself a little knot around that. Then you kind of look. Stick that on there. Draw that plastic up around there a little bit. Should seal that off. Okay. Clean up my work a little bit. And get me another little piece for the bottom. And we'll just spin that guy around there a little bit. And do a little double on there. Tie it up. Alright. Now, Elmer's glue. We're just going to use that to make a scab on the top of that. Again, we're fighting against moisture loss, bringing something that's in a dormant state back to life, using the power of the push from the stock. Alright, so we've got that. We're going to put a bird stick on here because inevitably that thing will start growing out and a bird will land on it and snap it in two, and all your work is gone. So I'm going to trim myself a little piece of wood here, and you might think this is a splint for the tree to be tied to, a stake. It's not. I try not to stake the trees because they just get weak that way, if I can help it anyway. Sometimes you can't. We're going to put this bird stick on there, and that will also end up being a support for my little tent that I'm going to build for it. We can't have it out here in the elements until it's ready. Alright.